So, as president, you'd be in charge pretty much single-handedly of America's foreign policy. So with that in mind, I have to ask you about Ukraine. So in the spring, you described the war in Ukraine as a, quote, territorial dispute.
I think this is going to be the deciding factor right here.
It was not central to America's national interest. There was an outcry over this. And then pretty soon after, you seemed to change your view and describe Putin as a war criminal and say that it was central to America's foreign policy. Why did you change, and where are you now?
So the last part I did not say. I served in Iraq during the Iraq campaign in Fallujah. I was attached to U.S. Navy SEAL Team 1.
I don't want to pause it, but I hate when they do that.
Remember,
just answer it directly, then go into your spiel.
Then we had al-Qaeda in Iraq. Then it was create a democracy. Then it was that. And so the lesson that I learned from there is if you're going to commit to do military, whether it's aid or whether it's troops, you need to have a concrete idea of what you're trying to achieve. And so from the time I got out of the sandbox and landed back in the United States 15 years ago until the present, I've always felt that. And so my critique of the D.C. foreign policy elite is that they are doing a blank check policy without telling us when we will have achieved our objective. And I believe that today, and I believe that then. Now, because you dissent from the D.C. foreign policy elite, they then try to smear you and say, oh, you must be for Putin. I've always thought Putin's a bad guy. I still think he's a bad guy. But that's a separate question for a leader who's got to look at the world in very clear-eyed glasses. You know that it's not all peaches and cream out there.
Exactly.
And you have to make a judgment about what's in America's national interest.
Okay, he's saying the good things, but I don't think he still answered the question, though.
And so that's the position that I believe. And I also believe that I wish the D.C. elites cared as much about our border as they do about the Ukraine-Russia border.
Okay, he kind of changed the conversation. He didn't really answer it, but to me, this is the problem I have because, like I admit, this is a preference. I just like people who answer the questions directly and then give me their spiel, not give me a spiel, whatever, and then you lead me down a different goalpost, right? But hey, this is why politicians are the way they are. They're good at getting elected, and you're seeing it firsthand. So I didn't like the answer too much, So I give the Ukraine thing, but I could be wrong at the end of this. Let's continue.
Because there's people pouring into this country. We have people dying from fentanyl overdose. The cartels are running the show. And what I've said is this is something on day one. Declare a national emergency. Mobilize all resources, including the military. Stop the invasion. Yes, build the wall. But most importantly, authorize the Border Patrol, authorize our military to deal with the cartels. If they're breaking into our country, bringing product, if I'm in charge,
that was good.
That's going to be the last thing they do because they're going to end up stone cold dead.
Amen. So what?
So the crowd reacted fine with that, right? But if you're someone skeptical of DeSantis like I am, right? Because I'm a vague guy, you're like, hey, you didn't answer the question though. Right, so that's a hanging question, but how he handled it, like perfect, right? He drove into it and he guided it to people, someone they know they're going to agree with him for, get a positive reaction for it, and then we're on to the next one, right? Politics.
If we just go back.
There you go, Tucker.
Great critique. So what
There you go,
is
Tucker.
the goal, do you think, in Ukraine? When do we know we've achieved it?
They will not define it. And
what do you think it should be?
Yeah, there you go.
I think the goal should be to have a sustainable peace in Europe. Okay, we don't want there to be war breaking out. There have been a lot of people that have been killed, displaced. It's a horrible thing.
He's just like, he comes off like a journalist. Like, I'm explaining the situation. We know the situation, Ron. We just want to know what you would do about it.
But you have to provide a articulation of where you're going to go to get there. And my fear is right now is they're basically doing an open-ended conflict. This is going to be a multi-year quagmire. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to die, and there's not going to be much facts changed on the ground. And the dispute at this point, or the war at this point, is not whether Ukraine's government is going to fall. They're fighting over territory on the far eastern part of the country between Russia and Ukraine. And that's kind of where this is at. So the question is, okay, how do you get that to where we can stop this? And also, from our national interest, this is humiliating for our country that we're running out of ammunition. They're now trying to.
You're making us helpless, and then we're helping someone that we're not even getting no direct benefit from. I understand that. But you see what I'm saying? He's just describing the situation. He's not really answering the question. So hopefully Tucker run it back again.
Mobilize troops, U.S. troops, to go to Europe when we have a major threat in the Indo-Pacific, the Chinese Communist Party, who they're basically given a free pass to. As president, I would prioritize the threats to our national security. The top threat to this country is China. It's China's ambitions, it's China's industrial capacity, it's the CCP's ability to pollute our culture, impact our universities. Incidentally, in Florida, we got rid of the Confucius Institutes that they put in universities. We cracked down on them being able to do research dollars to our universities, and we banned any purchase of land by the CCP in the state of Florida.
So given
Get him, Tucker, get him. Because when he said national security, I keep thinking alibi to continue the war. Oh, we think about the national security, right? He didn't really directly answer. It's like, it felt like a cover up. Okay, here's an alibi. Here's my alibi. We're national security, buzzword, right? You didn't answer my question, buzzword. But we'll see how this goes.
Here's the thing, though. You have to do what's based on our interests. You can't subcontract out our interests to a foreign leader.
I understand that.
You can't want it to go on because it'll be good for defense contractors or, globalist investors.
This is what I'm saying. It feels like I'm in a political class. Like someone's teaching me like the nuances of the situation when really the answer was, hey, what will you do about it? Right? And you just explained the situation. We know the situation already. That's why we asked you what you'll do about it. And he's just like explaining this stuff. I don't know. I just like people who answers things directly and then give me their explanation, right?
Investors, it's all about what's in our interests. And I think we're basically in a situation with our foreign policy. We're providing a blanket security to Europe. They're not paying their fair share, and we're not doing what we need to do to project power in the Pacific. At the end of the day, the CCP respects hard power. And I'm concerned that because a strong America can deter conflict, I think a weak America may be on the path to inviting conflict with China. And if we continue to be weak abroad and allow our culture to deteriorate here at home, we can have a situation where our kids or grandkids are studying, memorizing 37 different pronouns in Mandarin, and we can't have that. So we've got to do better as a country. We need to reverse the decline of this country because it is happening very, very quickly.
In my view, I didn't like this this answer. I think Vivek won on the Ukraine issue here, right? And to me, that's the deciding thing. Because if everything else goes well for DeSantis, but the Ukraine issue, I'll give it to Vivek. Vivek won this event between Ron DeSantis and himself. But Ron DeSantis has the poll numbers, so as long as he does satisfactory, he maintains his position. But I think here I give the edge to Vivek.
So you inherit this mess a year and a half from now, say, and let's just say it's static. It's where it is right now.
And you can tell, like, this is the third time that Tucker is rephrasing the question to try to get an answer out of him.
What do you do about it? Like, how do you act?
One, Europe needs to do more. This is their backyard.
Okay.
We have NATO countries that don't produce support for their own defenses.
Okay.
And we're supposed
to
do it,
the problem.
And we're taking away weapons and ammo that could go to respond to contingencies overseas.
What's the solution?
So we would do more in terms of the Pacific. And the goal should be to bring it to a conclusion.
What kind of conclusion?
In a way that's a sustainable peace and that doesn't reward aggression.
He's not answering the question,
and you
guys.
have to be able to use
Tucker,
different levers that you have.
Get him,
For
Tucker.
example, one of the leverages I would use vis-a-vis Russia is I would do our own energy exploration and send it over to Europe so they don't have to rely on Putin. I would stop giving Iran a free pass like Biden is because they're funding Russia. So we have some ability to...
Those options, I think, will escalate the war because then Russia will see it as a way of, oh, you're trying to embolden Ukraine and weaken us to help them, right? And this is why Russia invaded in the first place, because Russia warned, hey, keep Ukraine away from NATO, so that way I have some buffer between you guys and myself. The minute he felt like Ukraine was going to do something, he invaded. So you don't think you making Europe energy independent from Russia, taking oil away from Russia will not warrant Russia to escalate the war? I don't know, man. This is my thoughts. I'm not a foreign expert. Like, I'm the most ignorant person, but I'm just saying from like a strategic point of view, from someone with limited foreign relations knowledge, that's something that stood out to me, and I'm just articulating that openly. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section or in the chat. I continue.
To use this, but the goal should be we cannot have a quagmire that goes on for years and years. And seeing Biden put those troops there, I can tell you, we cannot have American troops in Ukraine. That is a total non-starter.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So why? I mean, you've got a whole Congress, and there are a ton of Republicans there. They claim they run the House. I haven't heard anybody say that. Why?
Well, no, I think some of them tried to say that there should be.
Yeah, they lost badly. I think they got 33.
He didn't take a position. He just gave nuances, and he's saying, hey, I think the worst option, Biden did it. I think that's how he phrased the question. So I felt like he answered it, but it didn't satisfy me on the question. I think that's I think I'm being fair, guys. The DeSantis people, if you saw this, I'm being fair.
3 votes.
They did, but I think there are some people that said you need to define the mission before you're able to send any American tax dollars over. No, by the way, they haven't even been able to account for all this. So we don't know who's coming across the southern border. We don't know where all the money sent to Ukraine is gone. We don't know whose cocaine it was in the White House. I mean,
what's your guess on that? I'm sorry. I mean,
hey.
Let me put it this way. We have issues in Florida with parents' rights, and they're trying to put pornography in the schools. I think a lot of you have seen this. It's sad that this is the case. We allow the parents to blow the whistle. You can get it out. And our message to people has basically been like, look, adult material does not belong in a 5th grade classroom. You know, if you want to see the pornography, just check out Hunter's laptop. I'm sure you can have that till your heart's content.
Is that available in your schools?
Hopefully not.
My kids are older. I don't know.
Oh, my God.
So
Tucker's good at this.
How concerned are you that in the wake of whatever the next economic disruption that we're going to face is, and everyone kind of feels like maybe there's something coming, that will wind up with digital currency issued by the central bank?
Well, if I am the president on day one, we will nix central bank digital currency. Done, dead, not happening in this country. In the same.
I haven't done much research on the central digital currency stuff, but for sure, I'm against any type of centralization of authority. And so, because at the end of the day, if you centralize something, it's easier to manage a centralized institution instead of a decentralized institution. So I'm always against centralization as a default position. So yes, I agree with what Ron DeSantis has laid out right here. And you see, he answered that directly.